We got you got me.
Bam, we're live. Hey, you even know like not to do the phone like this.
Yeah. Come on, man.
I can't believe it.
Don't hit me with the infamous question. Do you think you're aware? So yeah, I am aware of what it looks like if you don't turn the phone.
I just can't believe how many people who do it like this and like they're on my podcast when it should be like it's like
I
I never even correct them.
not anymore. I got you. I told you a long time ago you can't blame people for being who they are, right?
Yeah, I'm still learning.
I can only imagine. That was a tough lesson for you.
I'm still learning. Fucking idiots. Hi.
How you doing, man?
Fucking living the dream, dude.
Yeah, dude, thanks for having me, man. Now
I,
that you're big time, I feel like I should make sure that I note. And you know what else that you've done to me that I'm gonna do to you
Tell
soon?
me. Please tell me.
Just like the other day when I called, right? You hit me with the "What do you want?"
Oh, who
And it was
dis?
a
What you need?
perfect. It was such a perfect situation where I was like, oh, that is probably like the third time I called. And now he's in this weird space where he kind of feels like he needs to answer and shit.
No,
Yeah.
listen. No.
Don't worry,
Listen.
hey, I can't wait. I
Listen.
almost did it today, but I was like, oh, I don't want to freak him out with the
No, freak
podcast.
me out. Listen, I get all that from Boys in the Hood. You remember in Boys in the Hood when the guy would answer the phone, who dis?
Of course.
Who did? So I just like doing that. It's like I like to prepare. I like to just who dis? What you need? Who
Yeah, well,
dis?
plus, I'm just letting you know when you have the rise in social class that you have
Yeah.
had.
Yeah. Tell me.
When you do that,
Yeah.
it's that one little for that split second. You're like, oh,
I just spitting.
That's why I don't like that this guy's the man. Yeah, right there. Perfect example.
Hey, 2022, bizarre turn of events for the show. We got our ratings from Buzzsprout. Like, so when we make this podcast, Travis, it gets hosted by a company called Buzzsprout, and then you push a button, and then they send it to all the different people, right? Like Amazon, Apple, Spotify, all the people where people listen to podcasts. And so I do a lot of CrossFit podcasts, right? A lot of them, right? But I'm trying to do more and more not CrossFit podcasts. And my top 5 podcasts for 2000. First of all, this podcast is in the top 1% of all the podcasts in the world in all categories. The weird thing is there's 2.7 million podcasts. So that means there's a lot of really shitty podcasts. I mean, a lot.
Yeah, I think I possess one of those.
I'm at the very top of the heap of the shitty podcast. I'm like the king. If there's there's A team, B team, C team. I'm the king of the C team, like the king. And but my number one podcast of 2022 was the last podcast I did with you, the most popular one. That's crazy, right?
Say it again. You're number one.
My most popular podcast of the entire 2022 year was the last podcast I did with you.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Are you kidding?
No. Number one podcast, the Sevan podcast is done is when we had you on. Last time I had you on.
You were gonna act like that it was Tyson's, but that's even sweeter, dude.
Yours.
Way sweeter.
Yeah. And we have people like it doesn't show on YouTube because like on YouTube it'll be like Dave or like people in the CrossFit community, Rich Froning. But the number one podcast that the most downloads we've ever had on Apple or Spotify, which crushes our YouTube numbers, is Travis Bagent. History.
Well, gentlemen, there you go.
History of the show. Crazy, right?
I mean, listen, you're
not surprised.
You have to know that in the podcast that I'm on ever, I'm always the number one podcast for that person.
Right.
Now,
I get it.
I am pumped. That you are in that category because you have to know too, our relationship, for the past 10 years, I could see you, every day for a month, or I may not see you for 2.5 years span.
Right.
And during that years, especially the last few years, as people hit me with the, hey man, do you know this cat? And I'm like, yeah, I know this guy. They're like, dude, I think this guy's got a chance, right? Like this could be the dude. And I'm like, and every time I just kind of look over to whoever's around me, whether it's Casey or Tyson or whoever it is, and I give them that validation, like, yeah, I mean, listen, that's the smartest guy I know, is that cat right there. And it used to be me and this guy used to walk around looking for smart dudes because we just were interested. And before long, you know, kind of realized that you in fact were one of those smart dudes. So congratulations on that.
You told me the other night, hey, I'm done hanging around normal people. I was telling my wife that the normal people, the normal people that are. She's like, what do you mean? I go, I'm with Travis. I'm done hanging around normal people. She said, what's that mean? I'm like, I don't know what it means. And she goes, what about the normal people you already know? I'm like, I asked Travis that too. He said they get grandfathered in.
All right. They accepted you when you were just normal and you were looking for normal people.
If
but
you
no longer.
If you don't have ambitions of going to Mars or something crazy, some delusional aspirations, I'm done. I don't I got enough just normal people who in my life.
100%.
I just want
I only have the top floor is only vacancies that we have around here. And yeah, if you're amazing. Now listen, I mean, that there's a broad spectrum of amazing. Yeah. So but I'm in. If you're doing something extraordinary, I wanna hear it. I wanna see it, and you can hang with me.
Yeah, if you're gonna make electric lawnmowers that are the next big thing, and you could be my friend.
I understand. Yes, I did say that. Now listen, sometimes I have these amazing thoughts there in the middle of the evening, but I think you can cash.
Was that too intimate? Was I not supposed to share that one? I thought it was a good one.
No, I love that one. You just have to know that I am kicking these things in different directions during the day. So I may forget when I say something amazing like that.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
I really like
it. Yeah, that's why you're big time and you got this show.
Travis, two main avenues I kind of want to talk about. One, what's going on with arm wrestling? Are you done? Are you retired? Are you out of the scene?
That's funny. I leave tomorrow to visit the great country of Turkey, and I am headed to Istanbul to join forces with the American team.
But that's as a promoter, right? You're not actually.
Yeah, I'm going actually as a commentator. So me and Neil Pickup will be handling all the East versus West action, I guess is what we'll call it. So yeah, you know, I'm wondering. That is a great question. I think that there, from a business standpoint, there is a very good reason for me to strap it, that, you know, to really attack arm wrestling, you know, to the best of my abilities. And, you know, I think there's some paychecks. There's really no doubt about that. The problem is, you know, if you get out just for a second, it's so hard, you know, for me. Like, I know it's easy for you, maybe not for you, but easy for most people to say, Trav, go do 2 wrist curls and be the champ again, because we love when you're the champ. And it's like, yeah, I got you. But I know what it really takes to be the champ. So a part of me, you know, I don't know if I really, really want to do it, but I think I'm going to do it. Meaning I'm going to put my body in that position where, you know, I'm going to take some money from a promoter. I just hope that something kicks in, because honestly, my competitive fire is nowhere near where you would want it to be. Sorry, if you were going to embark in this thing. And then as a promoter, it's like there's so much low-hanging fruit, and it's so easy to just run arm wrestling tournaments and profit from them, that I know that I'll never be truly done. But whether I'm ever like the champ again, it's hopefully, I'm thinking this weekend or this week will kind of light a bigger fire there.
When's the last time you competed in an arm wrestling tournament, like a real one? I don't mean like
in a tournament in Florida about maybe 13 months ago, 11 months ago. So it was last year around this time. I flew down.
Who'd you pull? Anyone I know?
Say it again.
Who'd you pull? Anyone I know?
I pulled Chad Silvers' whole little crew. So
not just one person, you pulled everyone
well,
on the
I
team.
ended up winning. I was lucky enough to win the left-handed competition and then competed in the overalls, where I worked myself from the top to the bottom. And I actually, they were giving away a motorcycle, so I won 2 keys to a used Harley Davidson, which was really funny that it was used, but it was still pretty cool. I think they ended up selling that thing for about $4,500 when the tournament was over. So
did you win it? Did your key work?
My key did not work. I ended up getting 2 keys for winning the heavyweights and the overalls. I split my 2 keys with 2 other guys, and Chad Silvers and the rest of his team more or less had every key except for me and one other 220 guy that won right-handed. So the kid Hunter Notes was 154-pound, really strong dude from South Carolina. He ended up starting the bike up and winning. So, but for me, honestly, I won that tournament because of my name. I set the bracket. I gave myself a good first round. Then we got right into the bye scenario. By the time I got to my semifinal match, the 2 other guys had a pretty good match. So I kind of like convinced those guys that second place was the limit for them, and they kind of bowed down, and it worked out really well. So
really, in the final, they did in the final they didn't give you nothing.
Yeah, they did, but it was one of those things where they did not know that I was just probably a little bit better than them because of the way it panned out and my nonverbal and verbal communication as to how awesome I was that day kind of really worked out. And you know what? It can do that in the tournament. You get 8 or 9 guys, the bracket gets funny. There's a bye in there. And if there's any kind of a tough match with a guy in the bracket that you haven't faced yet, it's really daunting, and it gives a lot of confidence, I would say, to the guy who's unscathed. So I'll take it because I kind of needed it. It was fun to, because really, ultimately, when you're there and you're arm wrestling and you don't have to arm wrestle, you're there, and it's one of those things where you're not going to make any more money. There's really no prize there that that's worth, what's going to happen if in fact you lose from an internet standpoint these days. Like, it's going viral when Travis Bagent loses. It doesn't matter how small the event is. The internet
that sucks.
Amazing.
That sucks. Yes, Mason, when you say you pulled, it means pulled means arm wrestle. It means you arm wrestle them. I pulled a guy. That means you arm wrestle him. The arm wrestlers call arm wrestling pulling. How do you say it? Polling or pulling?
Pulling, yeah.
Pulling.
It just depends on how deep you are in West Virginia as to how it actually
pulling. My hat. So this is a wool hat. I just have this. I was at my kid's tennis and it's freezing here at night. So I have this wool. I was wearing a wool hat for those of you tripping on my hat. Fine. The hat's gone. Bye-bye.
Yeah, explain to me the level of tennis that your boys are participating. Straight practice, or is this in?
They can beat any ethnicity except the Asian kids and the Indian kids. That's how
Asian kids, Indian kids.
Yeah,
only
other
ones
than that, they're the
are
best.
Those kids the exact same age as your kid, or even an Asian and
Indian younger.
Kid that's 2 years younger than your kids can still beat your kid?
Yeah, so my kids can beat the black kids and the white kids who are 12, even though they're like 6 and 8. But they can't beat the 2-year-old Asian and Indian kids.
Hey, listen, it's important. It's important for someone to know the level, right? So that you can at least show them one day, or you can tell them to watch their mouth when the right family walks in the court.
They're basically the best in Santa Cruz for their age, the pound for pound best. And my wife took the kids over the hill, like 60 miles to a city called Lafayette, real ritzy town. And my wife went to the tournament. She said there was our kids, there was one white kid there, my kid, one black kid there, and then the rest were Asians and Indians. And he said those kids were just on another level.
So is there a tennis season for young kids, or is there a tournament every weekend?
I think just every weekend. I honestly don't know.
Are you? Is that a goal for the Murphy household?
No. I think the average height of a professional tennis player male tennis player. I want to say is 6'5". It's something crazy like that. Of the 500, I'll look it up real quick.
I was speaking with a gentleman not too long ago about it was an athlete or it was something, and they, with a straight face, looked at me right and said, "Well, maybe it's time for growth hormone." And I said, "What do you mean?" And
for my kids?
Well, just for any kid.
Oh.
This guy told me that it was okay to feed a pre-puberty kid certain levels of growth hormone, and that's how you end up with some of these freak athletes. And I think he was more or less talking about overseas athletes, and of course that whole myth that the Russian doping scandal is real. So I don't know if it was true, but this was a person that I kind of like. Whenever they talk, I kind of listen, that they have some valid points. But yeah, he said that that's why you'll see every once in a while you'll see this person, and you're wondering, wow, I'd like to see that person's parents. But when you see the parents, you don't see what you were looking for, and then he claims that there's really no way for that growth hormone to hurt a pre-puberty kid.
Hey,
do you have any research on that?
Hey, here, a 2-year-old shows signs of puberty after he was exposed to his dad's testosterone gel. He developed pubic hair and his height was off the charts. This article goes on to say his penis was huge too. And
so where's the downside? Where's the downside for get this kid juiced up?
I don't know, but but it was only after she saw pubic hair around his sizable penis that she got seriously worried. Dude, come on, man.
Yeah. Well, and listen, I think testosterone's a little more dangerous than growth hormone.
I don't know, but I would not fuck with my kid's process.
Yeah, I think that too. You gotta be gangster. Gotta be gangster, boy.
What would the psychological implications be to get your kid all juiced up? Like your kid would be.
Well, that would definitely be one of those mental illness things that you wouldn't want to give to your kids. There's no doubt about that.
Hey, Travis, you remember when your kids are like 1 year old and they're walking already, or 13 months and they're walking, and you're looking at them and like, this is fucked up. They don't have the intellectual capacity to walk. They're not smart enough to walk. They should be stuck crawling until they're like 3. They just do so much dumb shit. Yeah, it's like, dude, you're not smart enough to walk. So it's already too much too soon to be able to walk. Yeah.
Yeah, and you think about you forcing them. That's like the first thing that you force your kid to do something because of our society, and then boom, there they are walking into the fireplace. You're like, whoa, why did I do that? Well, that's one of them first time you got to check yourself. Am I going to raise this kid exactly the way I'm supposed to, or maybe not? Maybe not.
Bruce Wayne, this dude is a G. Oh, you don't even know. You don't even. But good. You're good at your G radar is
great perception there, young man. Great.
Okay, so Travis, so you haven't arm wrestled in 13 months. You're going to Turkey to do commentating, and what about wrestling this giant dude that you have mentioned to me on the phone about wrestling soon? Is that?
Yeah, we're kind of away from that at the exact moment. That are you talking Levon or are you
no Dennis?
Dennis, yeah. So that's funny is that's how Ingen works, right? So there's 2 special guests, which would be me and one Dennis Chaplankov. So I imagine that if Ingen's mastermind dream comes true, there will be a conflict caught on video between me and Dennis. And I think Dennis is more or less in the same position I'm in, to where he had some past championships, I would guess, and that he is being courted and influenced to join Ingen's regime as well. And listen, just so you know, you can imagine how big Ingen Terzi has this event. if he's bringing me over to just commentate, along with, I mean, there's going to be at least a 40-person guest list of airfare tickets and hotel rooms and a lot of travel and expenses going into this. So it looks, from the outside looking in, it looks like about $150,000 production, and he's putting these events on now once every 8-9 weeks. So, you know, Ingen Terzi is, you know, he's like you, Savon. He's figured something out.
Well, too little, too late. He needed to figure out 10 years ago.
Well, I mean, for you, yeah, but for him, you know, this is a life dream. And
is he still good? Is he any good? Is he any good still? Is he still good?
No, you know what? Totally strictly a promoter. I think that every once in a while, I think he went through some injuries. And, you know, from an athlete standpoint, this guy's like a psychopath. Like, I don't think that he would compete unless he was, you know, at the very top. Especially, I would imagine, you're talking about this guy arm wrestling in Turkey amongst his countrymen, and he would have to be like injury free, like super prepared. So I don't think we're going to see Ingen arm wrestle much, but somehow he has taken over 100%. Igor plus when it comes to the event.
Wow.
I know, that's crazy, right?
Yeah. Hey, Sarah, no, none of these guys are juiced. This guy in particular is 100% natural. This is just this guy is just he just eats a lot and stays in the gym a lot, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, listen, here's the deal. If you do neutral grip pull-ups, that's what happens. Okay. You people got those hands all flat. No wonder things are the same.
No wonder you can't get strong.
Shit in neutral, and all of a sudden your trunk starts growing. Right.
So have you that guy's that guy said he's 300 pounds. Have you ever, I want to say once or twice you've personally gone over 300. Have you gone over 300?
I have never seen the scale say 300 pounds. It's always been less than that. The most I've actually seen is like 289. I'm not even in the 290 range. Now, don't tell me that I haven't been 300 pounds and not checked the scale. That's possible. But usually when I am at my best, my love handles are posted right up here on my shoulder blades. You know, and the traps get bigger. I usually always weigh the same. It's just whether I look when I'm 285 and guys tell me, hey, look like you lost some weight. That's when I know that I'm about to go crazy on someone, because that way I'm kind of small, but I know I'm not small because of the weight. And then there's times where I know I'm a soft 285, like right now. I'm probably weigh 270 right now.
Really? You're 270 right now?
Yeah, probably 272, somewhere in there.
Oh, you look great, dude.
Then I could look 250, but I know I'm 270, so that's a soft 270. So it all I kind of, whenever someone addresses me, I can put in context the last time I seen them, and whatever they say, I can kind of draw a reference that, oh, I can understand. Even though they're completely wrong, I can understand why they said that.
You're the one who taught me that if you weigh 300 pounds, you have to have air moving on. You can't be in a room with still air.
Yeah.
So like if you're over 300 pounds, you told me there has to be a fan in the room at all times if you weigh 300 pounds.
Greg, I was talking to Greg Glassman one time, and he's like, I mean, Travis, let's just be honest. If you're 400 pounds, you got to go to back of the line. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, listen, you're walking, you got your damn arm amputated. If there's a person there with a hangnail, they get to go first. If you're 400 pounds, I mean, you're expendable. And then after we were laughing and then he kind of looked over at me. He's like, hey, Trav, now you're not anywhere close to 400 pounds, are you? I'm like, I don't mind waiting in line anyway, little man. It's all good, man. I got it.
Jeffrey Berkshire, how tall is Travis?
6'3.5" when I was 25. Now I've had people try to tell me I'm not quite 6'3" at these times. So I try not to pay attention to that guy. To me, I'm 6'3.5" until I die, even though I'm probably a little closer to 6'2.5" than I am 6'3.5" these days.
I am looking for something here. Give me 1 second. Looking for a. Oh shit! I can't find it. It's a link. All right. Hey, I'm taking a piss. We're taking a 1 minute break. Everyone, relax. 55-second break, and Travis and I will be right back.
What is with this guy, you know?
If Howard Stern and Joe Rogan had a baby, you'd be looking at him. Remember, the people were live, so don't like start picking your nose or pull your dick out or anything crazy like that. And this is why this is the greatest show on the internet, because there's a comment here that says a lot of pre-cum, and then right after there's a comment that says it's so sad. Let's go back to hand jobs.
People without their names, and they
No one clip that and play that on the internet.
A thumb with a mustache. Yes. A thumb. Listen, a guy named Johan Lopez called you a thumb with a mustache. Wow.
I'm gonna shit myself.
Man, that Sevon podcast is dull as shit.
Okay, you guys have a great day.
Okay.
You too. Thanks for calling.
Mwah.
No.
I was feeling familial, like it was my mom I was talking to. That was the soonest I've ever had to take a pee break in an entire show.
Yeah, I was thinking. I don't even know if I ever saw that before. So
No, it happens usually around the 2 hour mark, but I just had a huge jug of sparkling water, big 2 liter of sparkling water at the tennis park, treating myself to some sparkling water. Okay. I'm trying to quit sparkling water. I hear it's bad for your bones.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a sparkling water fan. I don't even know how.
They don't have sparkling water in West
That's a sign
Virginia.
of privilege in itself. I mean, to an utmost proportion.
I agree.
So I don't even know I don't even know what sparkling water tastes like.
Perrier.
I was too afraid to try it and like it.
It tastes horrible.
Yeah.
Hans Kim is the best. Get him back on. That was a fucking the weirdest show ever. What are you talking about? Okay, Travis. Tell me about this oldest son of yours, Tyson Bagent.
Yeah. So first
Did you have his? That's your oldest kid?
That's my oldest son. Yes.
Did you have him on purpose? Were you like, I want a kid, or were you just fooling around without?
Oh yeah, 100% unplanned. Every single kid.
All 4 of them.
All 4 of them was a shock, like a heart attack. I mean,
Hey,
you.
Let me tell you this really quick. Let me tell you the story real quick. So about 4 months ago, my wife tells me she's gone through menopause. I'm like, really? She's like, all done. I'm like, no more chance you getting pregnant? She's like, nope. I'm like, holy shit, this is fucking amazing. So I'm still
waiting for that day. Is that easy to detect? Does she know 100%?
Well, she said she did. So I've just been going crazy, right? Just complete belligerence. Just whatever. She's now my playground. 4 days ago, she goes, hey man. I go, what? She goes, I think I might be pregnant.
Whoa.
Like, what are you talking about? You haven't had your period in a year. She goes, I know, but I just something feels like I'm pregnant. So I played it super cool. I'm like, awesome. And she's like, it's not awesome. And she's like losing her shit. And so yesterday she went to like CVS and peed on one of those sticks. My wife's like probably 47 years old, and she bought one of those sticks and then went into the bathroom at CVS like a 16-year-old girl and peed on the stick right there in the pharmacy.
And there, that the false negative happens all the time.
I'll let her know that. She'll be happy to know that.
Yeah. Now false positives don't happen. Once that baby accidentally reads positive, you are pregnant. Wow. Well, listen, so I don't understand. Okay. Oh, I got you. So now my uneducated self just realized that her not having her period would cause her to believe that after a while that she has reached menopause.
Yeah, like she's not dropping any more eggs.
Got you. I got you.
And then all of a sudden she thinks she's pregnant. But yeah. Anyway, no, Mason, she tested negative. Shut it.
Nice. Nice.
Okay, so unplanned. He's unplanned.
Absolutely unplanned to the most utmost proportion that you could ever be. I mean, I would go on to say that the least tight moment that Casey and I ever had in our existence happened during the conception of our oldest son. So we were right there, whether we were going to be together or not, thinking about it, bobbing and weaving. You know what I mean? Both of us have been away from each other long enough that, just that small period where, hey, you know what? I may have a different girlfriend before I die. Because, for me.
How old is he?
Tyson is 22 years old.
And how old are you?
I am 46 years old.
Okay, so you had him young, 24 years old.
23 years old is when she got pregnant.
Crazy.
I guess I was 24 when I turned 24 just a few months after he was born.
Crazy.
Yeah, and here's the thing too is you can kind of brag that you had your shit together at 23 back here where I'm at. Where you're at, I might as well have been 12 at that time, right? But you got to know that.
Wait, explain that to me. What do you mean? Like it's different in California than West Virginia?
Or on the East Coast or where I'm from, your life gets it's pretty much settled around 9th grade.
Okay.
You have picked out your bride for the most part. And and even listen to this point that if I dated Haley in the 9th grade and ended up marrying Casey and having kids, people would still say, that Bagent kid's throwing the football, his son used to date, or his dad used to date Haley in 8th grade.
Right.
That's how that generation would even discuss your who you are.
Right.
So I met Casey when she was in the 10th grade. We were just starting. I was starting my junior year. She was starting her sophomore year. We were together up until, like a year and a half into college. So now I'm 22 and a half, and we're totally not together. But we're seeing each other, once or twice a week and hanging out. But both of us were definitely going in different directions when she says, "Hey, yo, buddy." And I'm like, whoa, I even threw up the, nah, don't even try it. And she was like, no, seriously, come over here, bring all your stuff. You're moving into my parents' house. They have our whole life figured out now. And honestly, like, she meant that. And her parents thought that I was coming over there and 2 hours later we were going to get married. And I remember, like, because there's a time in every man's life, right, where it's time for you got to face this on your own. Right. Means that, like, it's like,
well, for you that happened when you were 7.
Yeah. There's no doubt that I grew up I had some interesting stories growing up that kind of shaped me into, definitely at a young age going through some not crazy stuff, but just stuff, right? Because I feel like whenever you think your situation's crazy, it's just because you didn't hear the other person's story. But most of the time, people got a good story. So we're not together at this point, and then bam, this happens. Her family was very frank that they would appreciate it if I would hurry up, marry her, and we could give the illusion that we got married first before the kid, which never really happens, right? Like, everybody is thankful that they were invited to the wedding, and then about a week later they find out, oh, no wonder that weird wedding thing happened so quick. She's pregnant, right? So to me, it was one of them things where in my household, listen, babe, we don't got to get married.
Right.
In my household, you don't even have to have the kid.
Right.
You know what I mean? Let's talk about this stuff. But
right.
Her household, having the kid was a 100% no, there's a deal breaker, and that we were
non-negotiable. They're having the kid.
Of course. And that, in their opinion, non-negotiable that we were going to get married immediately.
And
So
did you?
I remember,
And did you?
I know. So like I was talking about those things you got to go through as a man. So I remember driving over to her parents' house where I was going to have a talk with her dad, and her dad was fully expecting that he was to make sure that I did get married to his daughter immediately, because that was the wishes of her mom and the way that they wanted to handle this. So I remember I went over there, look, and I remember getting hyped. Like when I was driving over there, I'm going back and forth. I'm like, man, I'm a grown ass man. Ain't nobody gonna tell me what I got to do, right? Before long, I got over there, and Mr. Humphrey's like, well, son, I mean, what kind of a man are you gonna be? And I was like, you know what? That's interesting that you said that, because I have been battling with my manhood for about 20 minutes while I was driving over here. And to tell you the truth, the more I think about it, there's no way I'm marrying this chick. What the world did she even get pregnant for? Like, out of this, what is going on? Do you accept any responsibility for your daughter's behavior? So we got through that talk, and I think after that, that was the last time.
Did voices get raised there? Did voices get raised?
No. You know what? Here's what I realize now is how broken and horrible that guy felt too.
Okay.
Because listen, man, as a parent, and this goes for everybody listening, every decision that your kid makes, that smart ass person who absorbs the content immediately is going to draw reference to how that kid was raised. So I know that now. I didn't realize it then. I thought maybe that, he was worried about his own personal, like the
image, like his daughter got pregnant out of wedlock.
These are really good people. Like,
yeah, and you're on the other side of the tracks. Let's explain. I mean, his
100%.
daughter wandered into the wrong neighborhood and met you.
No doubt. This is the Lady and the Tramp story, exact story, right? Yeah. So, but now that I realize how old I am now, and that if God forbid that takes place in my house, the first thought is that I personally have failed. You know what I mean? Right, and then you want to fix it so bad as a parent. Right. So for me, it was to find out how far on those wrong side of the tracks was I actually. Yeah. So, and it kind of, that's one of those things too, that when your in-laws realize that their daughter or son is going to marry another person, it's right away, man, that's terrifying. I mean, it's absolutely terrifying. Yeah. So I can only imagine how he felt at that point. So, but there's one thing about Mr. Humphreys that was always on point, is every time he told you something, you knew, whether it was right then and there or in the near future, that it was definitely probably the well thought out and was a good decision for you to make. And one thing about him being a lawyer too is he could kind of talk you into whatever he wanted to, but he always left it at your own, that you could make the decision. So I more or less told him that, listen, I like your daughter. I always have. I didn't really like her that much during this period of time. I'm a little taken back from it. However, if it was up to me, we probably would have never broke up anyway a year ago. Right. So I am going to do the right thing. And if things work out, then a couple years from now, your daughter actually will not have a bastard kid, and they won't be talking about you at church every week, and it'll all work out. And eventually, a year later, I ended up, I didn't want to get married just because I had a kid. So I made sure that, even though that's the exact reason I got married, I made it look like there was a 2-year span where it was because of our relationship and not just a kid.
And then since I've known you for the last, 15 years or whatever, however long I've known you, you've always reiterated to me that you're the luckiest guy alive to be married to her. Like,
oh yeah,
in hindsight, you're like,
no doubt, luckiest thing I ever did was knock that rich girl up from Shepherdstown.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. And you can, here's another thing. when I see families get divorced and broken up, I am amazed because I know how much I loved Casey before. But when you see your wife take care of your kids, I mean, it gets deep. So, I know that I know I'm where I want to be. There ain't no doubt.
And now you have 4 with her.
Yeah. And every one of them, the same thing happened where she's like looking at me like the same way that she did. And she says,
like you
ain't
fucked
gonna
up, like
believe
it's your
this.
fault. Yeah.
And I say, well, listen, you could tell me anything. Just don't fucking tell me that you are pregnant because we can no way afford this. Right. And she's like, are you kidding me? I love kids. Do it again. And I'm like, and
are you done? You think you'll have more? 5?
it's funny you say that. There is absolutely not one precaution being taken in this house, nor has there ever been, except for the, just, roll the dice, take a chance. And then,
God, you're living at God's mercy. You're living at God's mercy.
Yeah, no doubt. And every single time that I, smoke a joint, eat a mushroom, or drink 2 Jaeger bombs, I sometimes think it's a great idea to have another one.
Yeah.
But
well, that's probably why you only have 4, because I can't ever remember ever seeing you drink. You're not really a drinker.
Yeah, not much. Yeah, not big into that. Yeah. It's always hard work, sloppy, hard work. Yeah.
Hey, and so Casey gets pregnant with Tyson, and when do you decide? I don't even know how to describe. I just remember when I met you,
Immediately. I felt
really.
I felt that every single step that he took, they were gonna know that, or at least in my opinion, they were gonna judge me by the way he moved, by how good or bad he was.
So since she was pregnant with him, you knew that was your legacy? That was your only thing you ever
Well, not my legacy, but I knew that I was a guy who was always in charge of the sporting event for all my buddies. So I knew that I was going to be very good at setting up the situations for him to, play a lot, whether it was football, basketball, or baseball, that we were going to play a lot. I remember telling Casey and different people that how much pride that I was going to take in making sure that my son knew how to do, that to play every position and really was a student of the game, and all the mistakes that young athletes make, that I was going to be there to, to hone those skills and make sure that, that was going to be what we did.
Even at 1 year old, you knew you were going to do that? When he was 1, you were. Did you ever tell him before he could talk? He's in his crib, and you're like,
yeah. As soon as we found out it was a boy, then I knew that was something that that we were going to do. That we were going to train really hard to be super coordinated, so that I could give him an opportunity that if he did fall in love with something, that he would have a big head start.
And so you didn't even know if it would be football.
No, probably thinking more. I was a little bit better basketball and baseball player. Football, I was good at football, but it wasn't as fun as our school in high school. It was a baseball town, a baseball county. So baseball was a bigger part of my life. But I also knew that football was a lot funner to watch. So I was totally tickled to death when he finally, about 11 years old, told me that he was going to keep playing baseball and basketball for fun, but that he was going to be a pro football player.
At what age?
11, 12 years old is when he just knew that he was going to be a professional athlete, and that he had excluded baseball right away, about 9 years old. And then, at 10 and 11, he's having just as much success in basketball that he is in football. So, and every kid loves playing basketball, man. It doesn't hurt as much. So it took a little while longer, probably 13 years old. He knew that he was never going to be able to play college basketball, but that football dream was super alive.
Do you think that you've I know this is gonna sound bad, but fuck it, whatever. Do you think you forced him?
Oh,
You think
one.
like do you,
Listen,
if he's a marble, did you drop him down a really tiny narrow
if anyone
tube and force him down?
if anyone ever accuses you or me of forcing Tyson to play football, to play quarterback, they are dead on. I mean, you couldn't
He
be
didn't have
more,
a choice. He didn't have a choice.
No, not even a small choice.
Uh-huh.
No. Even when there were times that it was maybe a better choice to play him at different positions, it was not even considered. It to the point that you could get fired from our coaching staff by even whispering it to one of the other guys.
So how do you do that? How do you force your kid to do that without breaking his spirit?
It's very fine line, tough. You know what? I don't even advise it. When I coached the kid, I gave a session today. 8-year-old kid wants to play quarterback. His dad wants me or one of my kids. I tell him my price per hour, which is pretty extraordinary for our area, and then what it would cost for Ezra to do it. And he's like, listen, I can't wait for Ezra to come back. But since Ezra's in Florida, we'll have you do the session. I did the session today. And the whole time, as I'm talking with the kid's dad is over there in the corner. And the kid's dad wants to make sure, and he wants to make sure that the kid is being overly coachable, right? So whenever his dad snaps at him, the kid looks at me in my face and walks closer, right, to listen. And then the kid goes back to being a regular kid again and taking instruction. But the whole time I'm over here and I'm thinking, this poor kid, he got this helicopter dad over there that's dream is bigger than this kid's dream by 10,000, right? And about 10 minutes into judging this guy, I realized, well, that's me. I am that guy. I just did it personally rather than paying someone a ridiculous amount of money to train my kids. But honestly, it does not matter which route you take. But I do feel that if that situation doesn't work out and that kid's not as good as the dad wanted him to be, and the kid decides to no longer participate in that sport, that you could imagine that the kid would have a little bit of power, or at least an argument as to, man, dad was a psycho and now we're not even good friends because of it. And then if the kid makes it, then the dad's a genius for pushing the kid and making it work. So I think our story with me and Tyson, it appears that I'm a genius for pushing him. But one thing I know about these stories is you got to wait till they're over before you can reflect and see if it was good or bad. But as of right now, it's going pretty good. And he was 100% psychotically pushed into one role. And we pushed it hard.
I'm never going to be able to explain it to the viewers on this show because they don't know you. And I've got to hang out with you, God knows, 1,000 hours. And you have to know that nothing that the way Travis deals with people is anyway forceful. So when he says he forced his son to play football, it's not in his personality to be forceful. That's not how you work. He is deeply manipulative on the most amazing psychological level, meaning not like he tricks you, but he believes in people around him and he lifts the mood up. Like he lifts the mood up. Travis be the perfect person to take to a funeral. There's no God, I just remember seeing you around your kids and just what you would get out of them, how they would perform. You get people to want to perform for you. And so it's not like this story of him like dragging his kid out of bed at 4 a.m. to run 5 miles. He convinced his kid. He manipulated his kid. His kid wanted to do that for his dad. Wouldn't you say?
I mean, I love that. I love that.
I mean, I've never seen you be the asshole dad, but man, you sure know how to conduct. You know how to conduct an orchestra of human beings.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and listen,
let me tell this one story. I've told it on my show many times. Camille Bouleblanc Bazinet sold out stadium at Carson, a complete packed, oversold. Final event, final night, whatever, and she's on a fucking rower or an assault bike or something, and the monitor stops working, and it's in the middle of an event, and she starts crying. And Travis is the MC. He's fucking Kiki Dixon or just like this Bella Martin. He's just an MC. And he sees that she's crying, and he walks over there, and he goes, "Don't worry about it. Just keep rowing." He puts the mic, covers the mic. And then he looks over and he sees a couple girls get off the bike. He's like, "Yep, you're done. Go." And he just takes control of this fucking live event that's being pushed onto ESPN. And it's like, it's a crazy story, but for those of us who know Travis, like I seen that, like, I'll tell you one other story.
That's a great story. That's a great story right there. That's a great one. Yeah.
I'm in this bar that we don't have in California. It's a bar in Texas. And
not just a bar, it's the biggest bar in the world.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah,
there's 5,000 people in this bar. Yes. Like we have a section in the bar that has 300 people. That's our own people. And then somewhere else in the bar, there's like a famous country music player on the stage.
Yeah, Luke Ryan is having a live concert right there. And we are, once again, first class pimp VIPs, but we are not participating in the concert.
Yeah. So Dave Castro and Andy Stumpf get into it in our private section with the U.S. Air Marshal.
Do you want me to correct you if there's any part of the story that's wrong?
Well, I think mine's perfect. I dare you.
It wasn't Andy.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Who was it?
No.
Who was it?
Gone. So
no, it was Dave and Andy.
No, it was not Andy. It was the branding guy.
Who's that?
The Marine branding guy.
Jimmy Letchford.
Jimmy.
No.
Yeah, 100%, dude. I saw Jimmy's face.
No.
Jimmy and Dave Castro were in the middle of that thing with that guy, and I saw Jimmy.
Hey, was Andy there? Tell me, was Andy there?
Andy was there. Yes, Andy was there.
Okay.
Yeah, Andy was there.
I'll compromise.
Andy was going to diffuse the situation first.
Okay.
And was not quite successful enough. And just so you know, right when it started, I looked at Greg and asked him if he was okay with it. And he was, Greg just kind of snickered and said, yeah, let's see what happens. And then Andy intervened, kind of got a little more heated. And then,
okay. So Andy was so eventually, because when I went over there, I see Andy and Dave face to face, like this close with the U.S. Air Marshal, and the shit's getting fucking heated. So you do agree at one point Andy was in the mix?
No doubt.
Okay.
Andy 100% tried to stop it, and what you saw was Dave explaining to Andy, "No, it's okay if me and Jimmy smack the shit out of this guy. We've already worked it out. The guy has said enough about the Navies that it has to be done."
And so this guy's a big guy. This is a big guy. Dave's 6 foot. This guy's a little bigger than Dave, and thick. This guy's thick.
Guy's 6 foot 3.5, 6'4", 218 pounds, but could easily look like he's 240. But because he's a CrossFitter, he don't have that extra weight on him.
So it's getting heated. It looks like it's just about to break into a fight. And there's a wall about 10 feet away that has a sign that says emergency exit.
Correct.
And it obviously went to the outside.
Just so you know, this VIP area we're in is where you would bring in the big talent. And that door is like the backstage door that you open it up and you're in this. You walk in, you're in Studio 51 in New York City. You walk out that door, you didn't even know it was there, and it's just this alley right outside going, some back way there. So go ahead.
So I see Travis walk over there, And I'm like, fuck, I'm getting a front row seat to this shit. And I fucking I positioned myself behind some tables and shit. And I'm like, this is gonna get crazy.
Yeah.
And Travis literally walks over there, the way I remember it, walks right in between Dave and Andy where there's no fucking room. I mean, these three guys are as close as they can be face to face to face. They might as well have been kissing. Travis walks in there and kind of just scoops the guy like he had a cape on, like a Batman cape or something. Scoops the guy, walks with him 10 feet. The guy can't stop Travis. There's no tussle. There's no exchange of words. It's like the guy doesn't even know what's going on. It's like magic. He walks him to the emergency exit door. He opens the door, kind of just gently pushes him out, and then pulls the door shut. And the guy was fucking
And
gone.
there's no handle on the outside door.
Yeah,
Because
and the
it's
guy's gone. I'm like, Travis, how did you do that? He's like, I just put my weight on him a little bit. He goes, people
Yeah,
don't like to
come on.
mess with the big guy. Just put my weight on him a little bit or some shit like that. I was like, how the fuck did you do that?
Yeah. That thing could have ended totally different. One good headbutt, and that would have never worked for CrossFit.
You mean like if you would have headbutted him?
You know, if he would have headbutted me when walking him out there. But that was a and you know, let's set that story even a little further and know that was my first day on the job. And I was really just auditioning for the job. If you remember, and when I say the first day, it was the first trip. We had started off in Memphis, Tennessee. And I was more or less just this kind of hang alonger, but there was nothing set. And then finally, right around the second trip we ended up going to Texas. And that's when it got a little cooler where I would, start, getting Greg checked into the place, doing a little bit of advanced work. And then later on, it's like the third night when that took place. And I remember when I walked back in there, I already knew that I had done something that you California guys was going to think was amazing.
Yeah. I thought it was so
as I
amazing.
walked back in, I knew the more nonchalant that I acted like it was, the more breathtaking it was going to be to you guys.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. There's the manipulative piece. That's what I mean. That's how he got
problem.
it.
That's 100%. Yeah, super aware, no doubt. So
Brad,
I remember even after that, like later on that night, Greg looked at me. He's like, well, what am I supposed to do if you're not available? And I'm like, listen, Greg, we'll always make sure someone's available for you, bro. We got you. But that was a good, Bob Harper. I met Bob Harper that night.
Oh, the guy from The Biggest Loser.
Exactly. And Casey was a huge Bob Harper fan. So we also FaceTime Casey right before we were pulling into Billy Bob's that night. So that was a great night. So you
scored points at home and at work.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it was a great night. Yeah, great night.
Brad, Patty, I met Travis at NOLA. I don't know what that is. At the Northern California, North LA. I don't know what NOLA is. At the live showing of Open Workout 14.3. He talked on that mic and he would take everyone's attention on him. He's straight savage on the mic.
That was a rare announcing event that I really, really enjoyed.
And you hate doing that shit, right?
Well, it's because it's like my job. If you like nothing's worse than being really good at a shitty job. And what I mean is like people are always like, man, you could rock the mic. It was awesome. I had you at the games, and you think about the games, and it's 4 days of 13 hours of repetitive 20-minute AMRAPs. I mean, the worst. And then every once in a while you get a gig like the Open where it's like, hey, for the next 5 weeks, let's go to 5 cool ass cities and do a really cool 3-hour event.
Right.
Where you really only got to rock the mic for 45 minutes. Right. I'm in. And that was a really, really fun experience. When it comes to CrossFit, that's one of my fond memories. Not so much the CrossFit Games because of the amount of work and time, and the fact that Dave was such a soldier that he ate those 18-hour days up like they were nothing.
You mean basically he overworked everyone?
Not only that, he just worked like this dude somehow. Yeah. At 5:30 in the morning, he looked fresh as a daisy.
Right.
Hair wet, like just shining. Motherfucker was always just a morning person. It seemed to me like, but he was always ready. And he was always super aware of any way that you as an announcer could manipulate, which, you know me, there's never a situation where I haven't taken a little step back and like, oh, okay, if I'm ever here again, I know that there's a bathroom here on the left side. You know what I mean? I'm not going to make that same mistake again. So if there's any way to make my life easier, I would try to, kick it to Dave. And he had already knew what the pros, cons, and why. And then he would say, stop being a pussy. We're doing it like this. And I'm like, okay, he already knows.
He would never talk like that. That would be inappropriate in the workplace.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, he was the first guy that I realized that no matter, in the middle of that war, you're not going to really understand the madness. But unfortunately, when you look back at it, you're always going to be okay with him being the leader. And that was a tough pill for me to swallow, because I was always, as an employee or a helper, I always went way above and beyond from a talent standpoint, that I would always expect the little privileges that come with being so freaking efficient. And with Dave,
as soon as you entered the Greg Glassman entourage, you just took over. You were the leader. You ended up, you say when we're leaving, what car we're taking. You would be like, if there were 3 cars, you'd be like, Greg, like no one even asks you, your second-hand job. You're like, Greg, you get in that car. Sevy, come with me. Girls over there. Driver number 2, be quiet until I'm done talking. Okay, who wants to eek over there? And I'd just be like, oh shit. And then we've been in some hairy situations with you where that's really paid off.
Y'all, no doubt. Yes. Yeah. No doubt.
We're like, we just needed someone to tell us what to do. Leave through that door now. And it was okay. We're gone. Bye.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. And that was, and I always felt like when it came to like running the CrossFit games, like I kind of understood, when Dave said ABC, I could fill in D for the most part. It was all good. But the fact is I realized with Dave, you don't get any special privileges for being aware of D. Right. Just do A, B, and C exactly the way that we told you. And then we'll reconvene and give you the instructions for D, which is fine too. Now that I think about it, I understand that there's nothing better than expecting and getting exactly what you want from someone who's trying to help you when you're in that war like that. So it's all good.
God, the good old days, the dynamics of all the relationships and shit.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Okay. So then at what age is Tyson when you start to think that he might actually, like, do you always think that he'll be a professional? Like, you obviously dedicate your whole life after he's born to him, right? And then Ezra,
but don't get me wrong. I wish, I think about business and finance, and there's a big part of that missing in my brain, right? In my day. So when someone says that someone like me dedicated their life to it, really, that was just something that I knew that I could do, that I enjoy doing. Now, if I probably, looking back at it, I probably should have spent a little more time making money and doing probably working more. So I have to be careful taking a lot of credit for it, when really it was one of those deals where, man, you got plenty of time. The least you could do is make sure that,
I get that. I'm the same way too. I see what you're saying. You're the kind of guy, you're only going to do what you want to do. And you would rather fucking let the bills pile up and spend time and make sure you train your kids and hang out with your kids because you're good at it. And you weren't doing dumb shit like smoke. You don't get drunk and you don't get high on fentanyl. So you didn't have to worry about that shit. And so you, on one hand, it's like, hey, don't give me too much credit. The reason why I did this shit is because I like doing it. Like, you loved being a part of your kid's life.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I think that, I was lucky, and I don't want to say, because I know that I am selfish too. So when those two boys came out and they were boys, I think that that's a blessing when it comes to where I was that point in my life and how much easier it was for my boys to be with me 24/7, even like in places that, like I would take my kids to my dad's bar all the time. Like didn't matter to me that there was 4 alcoholics in there and that there was a fight that could pop off any second. Like I have no problem with my kids seeing 2 grown men fight. Right. I'm like, yo, get over here, make sure you can see, but just get behind me. Right? Like, I'm okay with that, right? Totally okay.
Hey, but what's interesting is now when I talk to you, you're starting to do that. You're on the same train though with your girls. Like the other day, you're like, hey, I'm taking over the volleyball training of my girls' volleyball team. Yeah.
And I feel like that a part of me too has to know that I would be a bad person if I couldn't even fake that. Right. So let's just say that I do not enjoy volleyball as much as football or basketball. There's a part of me that knows that is also something that I would never let come to light anyway, because I'm aware enough to know that you'd have to be just a terrible person to act on that feeling. So now lucky for Diem is I really do enjoy volleyball. But I'm glad, because I think when I was younger, I was probably even more selfish, where I would have been okay with my daughter, maybe skipping some sports so that she could get her nails done. But when it came to the boys, there was no missing days at all. We also too, things that they could be involved in became higher priorities. So when CrossFit became a part of our life, the gym and the CrossFit Kids class, it was a great way to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. We can actually give something back to the community from a service standpoint and get paid. But also we know now that class is super mandatory, right? Like it'd be one thing, like you're a dedicated dad and you take your kid to those tennis lessons. It's a whole nother situation if you were teaching the class. Now, all of a sudden, it just becomes regular every single day. We are going to CrossFit Kids class. And because you guys are my kids, 3 out of the 5 days, it's CrossFit football.
Yeah.
Because we are working this scenario. And then, and even getting the gym that had the indoor basketball court in it, just little things like that those became like yeses when it really didn't matter if the rent was, the building wasn't up to par. It had a couple things that we could see immediate gains from. So
for your kids,
I think
your
Tyson
kids
was 8 or 9 years old when I got introduced to CrossFit, and then it just continued all the way up until now. So that was another, and that's another beautiful thing. My CrossFit education was redundant, right? To where I don't know as a CrossFit trainer, if I would have got that same education, if it would have just been me paying for a seminar, joining a gym. But I got it to where it was Greg giving tips on how to make the seminar better every day when I'm there. And then us visiting the level 1s.
Endless seminars. Yeah.
So all of a sudden, even though it wasn't my intention, I became a pretty damn good CrossFit Kids coach.
Right.
Pretty quickly, right? Because I could already teach youth football. I just had to switch the football techniques to the CrossFit methodology, and all of a sudden, I'm talking and it's sounding good to all the kids. And then of course your kid goes out there, and Tyson was such a beautiful, because he's doing every single thing that I'm telling you and telling your kids that they should do. He's doing them, and he's also doing it in such a respectful manner that they're taken back a little bit by my confidence. But when it comes to him, they're like, he does all that stuff, and he's such a good kid. He never talks a lot of trash, or he doesn't act like his dad. So that we kind of knocked it out, we kind of knocked it out of the park with that kind of duo. We always had tons of kids. After we would beat them or compete against them, they would always want to join the class.
You know how like if you go somewhere, you need to be prepared. So let's say you're going to the movies, you got to bring your glasses, right? You're going to I don't know, you're going on a date, you got to bring your condoms. You're going camping, you got to bring your tent. You're going to the hotel, you should bring your toothbrush and toothpaste. When I take my kids somewhere, I bring them prepared. So I'm bringing my kids to Travis's Bagent's CrossFit class. I'm going to have them in the appropriate clothes, not pajamas, not some stupid fucking weird clothes. They're going to be appropriate clothes they can move in, not some stupid shoes, not their rain boots. They're going to be able to listen. They're going to be polite. They're going to be well fed. And I'm going to bring them there ready for you to sharpen.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the thing. Like if you could do that as a parent, you're at the fucking 90-yard line.
I agree. I agree. And the trainer should know how exceptional you are. So
Yes,
that's why
yes.
for my class,
Yes.
all the super duper fun stuff happens the first 15 minutes.
Give me an example. Like dodgeball happens in the beginning, not at the end.
So as soon as you get to my class, we have 15 footballs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, 15 of them. So every one of the kids that is there they'll get in line, and I will throw the ball every 5 yards, right? So it's a big square, right? So you run 30 yards, then you go 30 yards across the field, then you come 30 yards back to me. In that length of time, sometimes I can get rid of 8 balls, sometimes 13 balls, but every couple yards, you're getting fired the football, right? That is awesome. Listen, the kids that come prepared, they catch 100 balls. The jackass kid that gets there and his mom doesn't have his shoes on, or he shows up 5 minutes late, that time gets cut. And you know what I find? The kid tells his mom, yo, I don't want to be late.
Yeah.
Because really the class isn't even that fun after the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But the first 15 minutes is so much fun that you want them to, because all they can do is ask their parents, right? And some kids, you got to be careful how you say that to your parents.
Yeah.
Right? Like not every kid can say, hey, Pops, we were 5 minutes late. I don't want, I want to make sure I'm on time. They gotta be like, hey, listen, bro, you don't even want to know what happened for me to get you there just 5 minutes late.
Right.
You know what I mean? Watch your mouth.
Yeah, I'm not talking about those kids though.
Of course not. You're talking about the just regular slapdick parent that I thought that I would never, be, right? But I realized that I am the minority when it comes to really wanting, because I think that it's like part of my responsibility right away is to let the coach know that kid's parent is serious, right? And one of the best ways that I can be serious is to make sure I'm there on time and that my kids are ready to work.
Yeah,
right?
Warmed up. Show up 10 minutes early and warm your kid up. You
even mentioned it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that I even disagree. I think you were talking to someone. You were talking to an affiliate owner, and you said to that guy that really the clients and the parents, they push the quality of the program. And then I heard that guy kind of be like, well, I would expect you can expect that shit all you want, your employees to be on point. But what's best is for that guy to know, hey, the Joneses are going to be there today.
Yes.
The Joneses don't fuck around.
Yes.
The Joneses are psychotic. They think that little Marty's going to be a ski pro. Well, hey, you damn right that's what we think. And we're hoping that you can help us get there.
Hey, so can you share? You said something to so your oldest son, Tyson, who we've been talking about. For those of you who don't know, he's been on the show a couple times. He set the all-time collegiate touchdown passing record in all divisions recently. Did he win the? Did he win the second Harlan in a row?
He did not. He finished third in the voting.
No shit.
Yeah, they ended up giving it to the quarterback from Colorado, and then
how could they do that?
Well, I mean, you know why? I'll tell you why. So about 10 years ago, the greatest Division II running back, maybe the best Division II player of all times. Kid's name is Danny Woodhead. Danny Woodhead had an amazing junior season like Tyson did, and he won the Harlan Hill Award. He came back as a senior, and the sports information directors, which you got to know that there's 170 sports information directors that vote for these awards. There's probably 70 of them don't even have football. Out of the 100 that do have football, only 40 of them would football be their best sport, right? So you got to know that if you're in Division II in Kentucky, you may have a girls volleyball team that's third in the country. So your sports information director, even though he's in charge of every sport, he spends 85% of his time on that girls volleyball team because that's what makes their Division II sport click, put them on the map. So the voting is not always solid. So this Danny Woodhead guy, even though he had a very average injury-prone senior year, he still won the Harlan Hill Award. So every year now when there's a winner, the next year for the past 5-10 years, all of the D2.com media personalities, they immediately claim that Tyson would win because that's what Danny Woodhead did, meaning the name recognition would be so prominent that you almost couldn't lose. And in my opinion, they kept that campaign going from the minute the season started. And finally people were just
like,
very,
fuck you, we're not going to do that. And they
were
voted against it
very
on purpose.
aware. So yeah, now because of the Danny Woodhead situation, it will be a lot harder, if not impossible, for someone to repeat.
How, I mean, what a fuck were people crazy critical of that? Like, are you guys fucking stupid?
Yeah, there were
Tyson's a boon to Division II football. What he's done for Division II football is crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, but listen, you have to know that sports like that, life goes on, and immediately as soon it's cool to us because we love Tyson. But the fact is it's Division II football, so it's easy to discredit the situation. And you really can't argue because the more you know about football, the easier it is to discredit the situation until you really, really know. And then you're like, okay, even with those routine barriers of being Division II, playing with that competition, you still, when you put the whole body of work together, and then you realize that the most prominent evaluators in the world are the people that invite you to the #1 All-Star game and the NFL Combine. So,
and he was invited to both of those, the Senior Bowl and the Combine.
Yes, and even if you're a little critical, you still
How about the kid who won the Harlan? Was he invited?
Say it again.
How about the kid who won the Harlan Trophy? Was he invited?
He was not. Yeah, he wasn't invited to any of the games. Yeah, exactly. But you know what else? Hey, don't forget that football is the ultimate team sport. And if your team is really good, it's really hard to show individual accolades. And if you show a lot of individual accolades, it's usually a result of your team not being super well-rounded. So Tyson's back-to-back Final Four appearances, in my opinion, are a way bigger deal than even the individual quarterback stats. Because the truth is, the ultimate decider of that guy is how his teammates and coaches view him. And if it's 50-50 when it comes to the quarterback really getting all the love that it's presumed that he's getting. Because a lot of times, we all know the guy in our friendship that's the best looking, but it don't mean we always agree with the fact that he should get the pretty girl.
Right.
So a lot of times the quarterback, even though he's loved on the outside, when you really get in the locker room, he's got to be really on point to win that locker room. And I saw guys play harder when Tyson was in charge than they would have if he wasn't.
Right. Ken Walters, my son was a top 10 finalist for Division I hockey, Hobie Baker Award, and led the nation in scoring his junior year, but was not a hockey powerhouse. First time nation leading scorer to get to top 3 ceremony. That's awesome, Ken.
Super awesome.
Crazy awesome. Did not get to final 3. What God. Is hockey harder to break into the pros than football, or are they pretty equal? Both just in.
I would say they're
ridiculously hard?
pretty equal. I'd say they're
Yeah.
pretty equal, pretty damn hard. Yeah.
So you said something to. So he's with a quarterback coach now, just making sure his skills stay up to snuff as he approaches the Senior Bowl and Combine. And you told me something that you said to that coach the other night. Could you share that, or could I share it?
You can share it. Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, you basically said to him, you said, hey, either tell me my kid is the best quarterback you've ever seen, or tell me what you're doing to make him that. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, so funny, right? Because because it's so easy, right, for us to, you got to remain humble, right? Like, listen, if you're not humble, this society like really hates you. Like, it really does hate you, right? So I know that Tyson must maintain that status, right? Like, he has no choice. But I have no time for any of that. Like,
as the father, so it's good cop, bad cop. You're the bad cop. He's the good cop.
Of
Listen,
course,
motherfucker, if you're not
yes.
making my son better, hit the fucking road.
exactly. And listen, honestly, if you don't believe it, like, I need you to lie to me. Like, you must lie to me in order to keep this job. So tell me now, what are you, the only way you can keep the job is if you believe it like I do. Right? Because listen, if not, we just need to move on. It's completely okay. But we have one solid opportunity, is that we have been granted this Senior Bowl invite and the NFL Combine invite. We have this short amount of time. We have purposely checked every box in order to get to this point. You, Mr. Mastroli, his name is Ken Mastroli, his job is to take us to make sure that when we get there, that Tyson is not surprised by the verbiage, not surprised by the competition, not surprised by the amount of work and what's expected, the outcome. So I was very serious with him. And you know what was awesome is that he looked at me right in the face and said, listen, Travis, this guy's the best guy I've ever worked with. And listen, I don't care. There's no need for me to look at him harder to find out if I think he's lying or he's telling the truth. It does not matter to me. He knows what was expected. And now we'll see if it follows through. But I think a lot of coaches and a lot of parents would be completely okay with, hey, listen, it's a long shot. We are going to do our best to see how far he can make it. And most people would be totally accepting of that, but not me. We done went too far, and there was too many average things that I could check, that I went ahead and checked. Like, you need him to be over 6'3", check, right? Under 220, needs to run under a 4.85, check. Needs to be perfectly, look like a ballerina whenever there's any footwork involved, meaning his legs are moving 100 miles per hour. His body is quiet and soft. He can make every single throw that's needed to be made. I already checked those boxes. Now I'm here with you so that you can polish it all up and put it on that showroom floor. And listen, don't put it out there if you don't want somebody to take it first. Number one, and if you can't help us, we have a ton of resources over here. Let us go somewhere else where at least if we don't make it, we want to be upset about it. Do not prepare us for a bad outcome. We're not interested.
Damn, dude. Hey, and just so and I'm curious how Travis is going to respond to this. No one taught Travis any of this. So everything that Travis knows, no, he didn't go to some school to learn how to play football. He didn't go to a parent raising academy. He didn't, he's not a PhD in anything. This is a culmination of three things. It's a culmination of the way he was brought up, his ability to be hyper aware of everything that's going on around him, crazy situational awareness. And then the third thing is to connect the dots. That's what I would say they are. So he finds things that work and he pushes them forward for what he wants. This is like, Travis, I'm guessing 99% of the shit that comes out of your mouth, you're hearing it for the first time too. Like, are you like, holy fuck? You just seem like a guy who's just in a intellectual flow state whenever I'm with you.
Yeah.
Like,
And I'm experiencing it with you. Right.
Yeah,
when it hits you and that light bulb goes on.
Like you said, when you escorted that guy out, even you were tripping, but you're like, oh, I better act like that was cool.
Act like it was cool. Right. And listen, and there's something else about that hyper awareness, right? I think that people imagine that if they were hyper aware, they would be aware of all the things that are not possible. When really, the more hyper aware you are, you realize that that person's like no different than you, and they are where you want them to be. Like, I became hyper aware during the NFL arm wrestling show that these 40 athletes were no different than the kids at my house.
Oh, so just so you guys know, Travis did a charity thing where he arm wrestled NFL players, and that's what.
Not even that. We brought 40 NFL players and did a CBS show with 36 NFL players competing against each other. And the Players Association tried to fine and suspend those guys for doing it. It was awesome. Like, it was a real deal $2 million production with Marshawn Lynch, James Harrison. And I mean, the list just goes on. It was awesome.
And when you were around those guys, you were like, shit, my son could be one of these guys.
Not only around those guys, but my son was a junior in high school. One of the big reasons that the project was put together was so that Tyson could be around those guys, and that it would be just another check like, hey, you were around that guy. The first thing you're going to realize is they only zero in on the super ripped guys. Most of them dudes are just normal dudes, right? I mean, they're good looking 220-pound athletes. But I think when you're looking on TV at DJ Metcalf, you think that he's the norm when he's the minority, right? This 6'5", 240-pound wide receiver is a weirdo. Most of those wide receivers are just normal guys. And so even there with Tyson and Ezra being around those guys, and I made sure I brought them to every one of the shoots, every time that there was some intimate settings, right, with those guys, I made sure that my boys were right there and that it was nothing strange that they would be interacting with these type of people. So, I would say that as soon as you feel like there's that you may have a little bit of awareness, just let that sink in that all of your heroes are not that much cooler than you. I mean, just tiny little bit that I bet if you worked on, let's just say that you could go back in time, Savon, how many times would you, maybe even be more hyper aware to put yourself in better positions, right?
Yes.
Well, listen,
yes.
That's what having kids is. It's your opportunity to go back in time. You have all your experiences. Now you can let them. So my experience with NFL players when I was growing up is that they were Clark Kent. They were Batman. So I made sure that my kids knew that, no, that's just Marshawn and James. Yeah, the same guys we were at breakfast with yesterday.
Oh, hey, that was just like when Travis came to the Bay, or Tyson came to the Bay Area to do some like shit with some professional athletes. You're like, dude, you're an idiot for not bringing your kids here and letting them and hang out with these people and just make it feel like it's normal. I didn't even get that. Hey guys, I fucked that opportunity up.
That's just, you don't even say James Harrison or Marshawn Lynch. You say Marshawn and James. The kids already know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's my boys from Vegas. Yeah, no doubt. And then also too, think about Marshawn Lynch and James Harrison having to come over here and work in this group because I'm in charge of their arm wrestling knowledge. So now my kids are looking at me like, yo, not only does my pops know who James Harrison and Marshawn is, but he just told one of them, shut the fuck up, that you was talking. Like, hey, get the fuck over here. The first drill we're going to do is we're going to work on some rising here in the set grip. Pay attention. Like, that's the type. Now, listen, I even was a little more aggressive teaching those guys because I knew my boys were there.
Right.
I wanted them to know that, listen, your pops ain't intimidated by this room. Like, if you think about it, your pops ran the room. Right.
So even in those situations, you know your son's there and you're giving him a learning lesson.
I don't even want to say hyper is a good enough analogy for that, for being that aware of what you are doing at this exact moment. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, and I don't have to talk about it anymore. I don't ever have to draw reference to it. It is embedded in their brain. They already know that there was one time where their pops was completely in charge of all their heroes.
God, Travis, you're such a cool dude.
Dude, you wait and see, dude. If this thing hits, there's going to be a movie. And I'm going to be the main character.
It's going to be
and just imagine too, like, you can hype up all of these situations and make them even bigger than what they was. Yeah. Because,
although it's pretty big.
Right? I was there at that football thing, and, I mean, just all these different moments in my life. I was there, and I know that there were circumstances that made those things, there was a lot of luck involved in those things, but that does not have to be portrayed in the movie. It could be all.
I don't know. I don't believe it's any luck. I don't believe it's any luck. Hey, here's the thing. Every time I went and visited you when I filmed Pulling John, anytime I ever did any arm wrestling shit with you, I feel like whenever I came to your house or whatever, there was always like some kids training going on, or like I was going with you to football practice, or it's always been something. I'm whenever I'm talking to you on the phone, it's like, hey, what are you doing? You're like, I got to go. I'm getting out of the car. I'm taking the kids into practice. Or so. To say it's luck is, I mean, you definitely brought your kids prepared. It goes back to brought them prepared. The same way I bring my kids everywhere fucking prepared.
Yeah, and I think too, like I can imagine you without the coach knowing it, you giving him a little pep talk.
Yes.
And all the pep talk is coach, kids are fired up, man. They wanted to come yesterday. I mean, we almost packed it in, and I was like, oh shit. Your session's not till tomorrow, but the dudes are ready to come here. They really like that one backhand move. Yeah, they love playing that game. Just wanted to make sure you knew that, coach. All of a sudden, coach knows, hey, my man's here. He's very, very aware of when I'm starting class and how energetic I am. So, I mean, I praised that affiliate guy who wanted his $20 and $30 hourly coaches to train these athletes the way that their hopes and dreams, the way that trainer in their dreams trains them. I just can't imagine that it's not the actual athletes, and definitely the parents of the kid athletes that can 100% help motivate that guy. Because really, we don't need the guy to change his life. We just need the most energetic hour he can give us. That's all.
Yeah. I was thinking I was actually talking with Matt Souza about this today. We expect from coaches shit that people who make $300,000 a year can't do. And these people only make between $36,000 and $48,000 a year. And that's to stay present and motivated. But it's like, God, man.
Yeah, and also too, like that, you should think about what hour are you getting your coach, because that's important too. Like, I only want my.
You mean like morning or afternoon?
I want my
night?
coach at the first 2 hours that he's working, because I know I'm not the same trainer in the third hour.
One of the things one of the things I've been telling Avi, my 8-year-old. I know he doesn't understand it yet, but I said, hey, don't let anyone control the energy in the room. You control the energy in the room. If someone else is down, someone else is uptight, you don't ever follow that. You never, don't let your coach control the energy. No one controls your energy. You're free as a fucking bird.
What's up with those kids? Are those kids, what is your vision for their future? Are they athletes or are they just well-rounded freaks?
Yeah, probably just well-rounded freaks. I don't know.
What about educationally? Are they smart kids?
I think so. I mean, they read and write and do math and everyone, and they say hi and please. I mean,
like
they're not even
lawyers, you think? Or just...
No. Fuck that. That's a life of misery. No. Like here, it's so hard to tell if your kids are smart anymore because the bar is so fucking low. So my kids are the most polite, smartest, sweetest, most well-behaved, cleanest kids wherever I go. But I'm surrounded by fucking piles of shit. Yeah. And the parents don't even know it. Travis, I yesterday I took my kids for their last session of the day. Their last session of the day, they started at 3:30 and they did a 1-hour striking and kicking class. And they sparred for 30 minutes. Sparred, no headgear with other kids. Then right after that, they get a little snack for 5 minutes and they go into an hour of jiu-jitsu. That's 30 minutes of technique and then 30 minutes of fighting.
So you're saying 3:30 to, or did that
5 to 5, 3:30 to 4:30, 4:30 to 5:30. Okay. Then they come home and they're like, hey, we want to go in the garage and work on our jumping. So we go in the garage and we do jumping skills, sideways, lateral, vertical, all sorts of just different jumping skills because they want to do it's fun, right? Just jumping, crazy jumping. One-legged jumps, two-legged jumps. Some of those jumps you were showing me, they're just jumping. Then when they're done with that, it's been raining, and I invent a tennis game in the garage. So now they've been going 3 hours, and I invent a tennis game in the garage that they can play in the garage, and it just has to do with barely tapping the tennis ball. And they play that for an hour. So now 4 hours they've been going. That's their last session. They've already done a ton of other shit in the morning, right?
Right.
And I'm guessing for me, that's just normal. For my kids, that's just normal.
Yeah, exactly. That is
so I don't even know what other kids. I don't even know.
Yeah, that's listen, man.
Like they're pissed. Like I get pissed when they say, "Can I drink some water?" And I'm like, "What the fuck? You only been going 4 hours." So I don't even know. I don't know how to compare my kids to other kids.
Yeah.
It's not even.
Yeah, there's probably no comparison. And honestly, not that there's not other kids getting that work, but they're getting that work because of an obligation that their parents. So in other words, you would have to own that jiu-jitsu studio for kids to have the equivalent, I would say. Yeah. Right. So that's awesome. I mean, that is a genuine blessed day, I would imagine, for you.
Yeah. Then they woke up this morning. They did an hour of reading and math, and then the striking coach comes over. They strike for an hour, and then straight to the skate park, and they skated for 3 hours straight. Come home, get something to eat, and then off to tennis practice.
Yeah, and you're genuinely fulfilled through that day as well. You personally.
I'm having. You mean am I having fun?
Yeah, right. Like, there's not like that they ever tell you they're going to the park, and you're like, dude, I'd much rather sit and just take a nap.
No,
the TV.
I hate myself. Like today, I did take a nap So my wife's like, "Hey, I'm taking." They go to this thing called Kumon once or twice a week, where they sit down with like junior high kids and they do math and reading with them. It's just and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna nap for an hour," and I hated myself for it. But I know I needed to take him to tennis, and the best version of me would be if I napped. Yeah. I want to spend every fucking second with them.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's dude. That's what makes dude. That's gonna be, and you know what? It's gonna be strange for them because they're gonna have to luck out in order to live that life that you're living.
Well, yeah, right.
Yeah,
you mean with their kids? You mean to be able to do this with their kids?
Exactly, like Tyson. What we were.
Well, they got to be brave like me and you. I know what you said. I did. I was the same way too. Like I was kind of like, fuck it, I'm gonna do what I want to do. And you're right. I got lucky. It could have turned out fucking bad. While everyone else was telling me to get a job at Starbucks and get health insurance, I was like, fuck you. I ain't doing that. I'm fooling around with this video camera. But on the other hand, like. I mean, here's two guys that worked out for. I mean, how many people told you to get a job and stop fucking around coaching?
Oh
kids?
man, it was crazy. Yeah.
Right?
It was crazy.
I mean, people think
even
you're
to this day,
yeah,
like I
yeah.
can tell that even though it kind of worked out for me, I can still see their face like, how the hell did you do that? Because listen,
I have
man,
family members tell me I'm lucky. I have family members tell me I'm lucky the way my life turned out. When I worked every Christmas for fucking, I mean, you were out in the snow throwing balls with your kids at Christmas,
Yeah, no doubt. And like I know that those people really consciously thought that they were making the right decision.
Yes.
And listen, I'm not saying they're not. I'm just like, I know that they are looking at their relationships with their kids, and they haven't logged near the time. Like they haven't logged the time that we have. That's why that, me and my kids have a relationship about our relationship with you or whoever those people are, because that's how much time that we're logging. I'm not just seeing my kids for that 3-hour window after work until night, till bedtime. Like I've been with them. We've been together all day.
You ever had a coach tell you to go away, Travis?
Yeah. No, but I have had coaches gently try to explain to me that I'm the only guy watching. Right. So
yeah, I'm starting to get that talk from some of the coaches. Like, hey, there's no other parents here watching their kids. Like they just drop them off. I've been told that I need to walk away.
But
I don't. I'm like, I hear you. You might be right, but sorry, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I tell the guys all the time, it's like, listen, I love you to death. It's just I love them more. I just want to make sure that you are killing them, homie.
Yeah.
And but I thought about that because listen, do you know that I don't miss college football practice. Now think about that.
I love that.
Yeah,
you still go. You went to all his college football practices too?
I do not miss practice.
Do any other parents go to college football practice?
There's not one parent.
I love this. You're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, is that so no girls get him or no one, he can't smoke weed or like get on this?
I am interested in seeing what do I need to add to the list. Because listen, you can't put your kids in Division II athletics and expect them to have the same coaching, the same amount of stress put on them as they are at Alabama and Notre Dame, right? So I also too, like we didn't go there under the interpretation that Tyson was not the best player that ever played there. Now, it didn't mean it was true. I'm just telling you that when he came in, that's the label that I put on his packaging as I delivered it to you, right? So just know that, like I gave them guys this human being, and as I gave it to them, I made sure they knew that this is the best player that ever played here. So right away, I'm checking the coach, right? I'm checking the coach with the comment. Now, when I show up to practice, what do you think the coach thinks? This guy's crazy, right? Like this lunatic thinks that his son is an NFL player. Like, and listen, he probably talks about it to the other coaches, says it to 2 or 3 of the parents that he's friends with, whether of former players or colleagues at school. When they say, hey, isn't that Bagent boy playing quarterback for you? Man, how's his dad? And listen, you have to know that that guy who asked that question is praying that Coach McCook says that I'm a handful and that it probably won't work out.
Yeah.
Right? But here's what you have to know. It's only a matter of time. For Tyson, it was 4 days. So think about this, right? For the first day, I'm a lunatic. The second day, hey, man, that dude's dad is back here again. And then the one guy says, who you talking about? You're like, the stud quarterback's dad. That's the first strike. The guy says, in the day 2, I'm not the crazy guy. I'm the crazy stud quarterback's dad. Day 3, the entire motherfucking team, from every kid to every staff member, knows, wow, that crazy ass kid's dad is coming to every practice. And you know why? Because he's the best player that's ever played here. And then the 4th day, the same guy, the coach runs into the same guy at lunch. And he says, hey, how's it working out with Tyson's dad? And coach says, honestly, I think that Travis and Tyson are the best thing that's ever happened to Shepherd football. Do you have any other questions?
Was that his freshman year?
4 days. 4 days.
God, Travis. What a fucking great story.
Let's fast forward to the first game.
Yeah.
The first game, my son throws for more yards than anybody in the history of the conference. Not the team, the whole thing, right? And listen, the next day we get to practice. It's a Sunday. I'm at practice. It's just a walkthrough. The starters ain't even practicing. Do you know why I'm there?
Why?
I want to see what kind of energy the football coaches have the day after the first game that my son, who is a true freshman, threw for 518 yards. I want the coaches, I want everybody to know how lucky they are and how accountable I am. I'm so accountable. He is accountable. And listen, Tyson's goal, man, Tyson told me, he's like, listen, I know what my job is. My job is for that coach to think that I'm the hardest worker he's ever been around. And every time it's a new coach, it's a new opportunity. And he knows that. I mean, and he got that because I told him, I'm like, listen, that's your goal. How many days does it take for the defensive coordinator to know you're the best player? I know the offensive coordinator is going to know you're the best player the first day. How long is it going to take for the guy who doesn't want you to be the best player? How long is it going to take for him to find out? And we're going over those small little goals. I think that a lot of kids are dropping off their kids and they're just thankful the kid doesn't forget their water bottle.
Yeah.
Not that the kid is looking for today to be the day that the entire team realizes he's the best player.
Hey, do you have much time left? Do you have 20 more minutes?
Of course.
Okay. I'm going to run this commercial one more time, take another potty break. It's been an hour and 27 minutes, cup of coffee later. We'll be back in 55 seconds.
What is with this guy, you know?
If Howard Stern and Joe Rogan had a baby, you'd be looking at him. Remember, the people were live, so don't start picking your nose or pull your dick out or anything crazy like that. And this is why this is the greatest show on the internet, because there's a comment here that says a lot of pre-cum, and then right after there's a comment that says it's so sad. Let's go back to hand jobs.
People without their names in the
No one clip that and play that on the internet. A thumb with a mustache. Yes. A thumb. Listen, a guy named Johan Lopez called you a thumb with a mustache. Wow.
I'm gonna shit myself.
Man, that Sevon podcast is dull as shit.
Okay, you guys have a great day.
You
Okay.
too. Thanks for calling.
Mwah.
No.
I was feeling familial, like it was my mom I was talking to.
Okay, here's the question for you. I go to a jiu-jitsu tournament with Avi. There's only one other kid in the weight class. There's gi and no gi. In the no gi, there's not a lot of kids who do it. That's the one where you're just in your street clothes, right? It's just wrestling. And so he's there, and he wins the first match 11-0. And they're gonna normally you just wrestle a kid once and move on to the next kid, but there's only one kid there, so they do a best out of 3. The next match they tie 4-4, And since the kid scored the last points, they give the match to him. So now it's tied 1 match each. And Avi says, hey, I'm not going back out there. I'm like, okay, cool. Now, in that same tournament, my son Ari arm wrestled in a match, and a girl armbarred him and kind of hyperextended his elbow, and they stopped the match, and he was crying, and they took him off the mat, and they said, okay, he's done for the day. And 5 minutes later, he goes, hey, I want to wrestle my next 2 matches, and he went back in with his arm fucked up and won, just like a savage, right? Even though he didn't have to. So I asked Avi why he didn't want to, do the 3rd match with that kid, and he wouldn't answer me. So 6 months later, which is or 3 months later, which was this morning, he's training for jiu-jitsu with his instructor. And I say, hey, we got to work on because he has another tournament coming up in a couple of days. I go, we got to work on something with Avi. And she goes, what? And I go, that last match, he wanted to beat the kid 11-0, and then it was 4-4, and he wouldn't go out for the 3rd match. And he goes, dude, he tells me, he's 8 years old. He goes, tells me and the jiu-jitsu instructor, you don't understand how tired I was. I was so tired. And I said to him, and I don't know if he gets it, I go, I know, dude, but that's your opportunity to test yourself. Like, who cares if you fucking lose? You have to go out there and just see what happens, what you're made of. And then the instructor's like, okay, we'll start working on some things called the gauntlet. And that's basically where you just go out there and they just have 10 people just keep coming at you and just beat your ass and basically make you cry. So you just told a story where Tyson knew he had to be the hardest worker in the room. How did you teach him that? Do you have any advice for me?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
do.
Okay.
Yeah, you need listen. That's a good one right here.
Yeah.
This is advanced. This is like trigonometry when it comes to parenting right here.
And he's so moldable. This kid's so moldable.
Yeah, no doubt. So you're in a tough situation, right? So this is my recommendation for every dad who has a dream that could be slightly unrealistic, and you're going to work towards it together. Your son must be treated as an endurance athlete all the time, because that's going to be the place, that humbling place where they get tired and they can't do it anymore. So I'm not 100% sure that he wasn't a genius for knowing that there was something there that he didn't want to experience. But the good thing is that that gauntlet is how he experiences that.
So you did that with Tyson? You would push him into
all I did was I made Tyson wrestle when he was 6 and 7 years old, because that gauntlet that you're talking about is something that every kid, you got to look away knowing that they're going to hold him underwater. They're going to hold him underwater. And you got to know that as hard as that is to watch, that it's going to be a lot harder if you're not there and it's not controlled one of these days. So now you're in a tough gig when it comes to fighting, right? I knew that when it came to football, that I could put Tyson in an endurance, very scary situation just by sending him to wrestling practice. You got another, I don't even know.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying that the time domains for wrestling are longer than football. So if he could handle wrestling, he's going to be able to be able to handle the metabolic needs of football. But you're saying for wrestling, if you want to swim in the deep end, what do you use?
Yeah, you got to go to SEAL training. You got to.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is, but you have to know that part of your job is to make sure that he reaches this adversity almost accidentally. And even better, just going through life. So one of the beautiful things about football is that every minute you stop for 4 minutes, right? So I knew that how they were going to try to humble my kids is during summer conditioning, right? Because there's always the dudes that don't mind the conditioning. And then there's the athletes that hate the conditioning. They're just the good players. Right. They're just coordinated. So I made sure that my kids went through what I considered worse endurance training with me, so that when they got there, because listen, that's going to be the way that the coach can always humble you, the parent, is that he can make your kid tired and make him quit.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
you're in a tough game when it comes to that fighting game.
Right.
Because, you know, there is that, like, if your kids are not going to be UFC fighters,
They're not.
you don't need to let them get choked out.
Right.
But I'm telling you right now, if you have admirations of your kids fighting in the UFC,
No.
the motherfucker's got to get choked out right now.
Right. Yeah.
And
No.
lay
No
him there,
aspirations.
You slap
No.
him.
No.
Yeah.
You know what? But I do think that it translates to maybe a better tennis player or a better skateboarder. Like
No doubt. Yeah.
You got 3 black belts in Brazilian jiu-jitsu and some kickboxing and striking medals under your belt, and those 3 boys walk onto the skate park.
Well, and you talk about not letting anyone control the energy.
Right.
I mean, the best way to control the energy is if
You're the toughest dude in the
are
room.
in a tennis situation with a MMA background.
Right.
I just need fixing that problem in the MMA world may be a tougher sell than fixing it if it was in the tennis world.
Right. Great
You could fix
understanding.
it
Great
easily
explanation. Yeah.
just with your MMA.
And that's why
Amateur
probably
MMA
there's so many
training.
MMA fighters that are like Ironman athletes. Like they do the 100-mile runs and all that crazy. And like, you know, we all know Manny Pacquiao. He's a running machine.
Yeah. Even Diaz, like
Yes.
those guys, man. Like
Yeah.
once you completely sell out from an endurance standpoint, now let's go, bro. Like, let's go. Like, I know that you're not gonna, you're not gonna make me quit that easy. But I do know from experience that once you're tired and that you can't breathe, that is the absolute most humbling thing that you can go through, especially if someone's asking you to perform under those conditions. So, think about the sport that you're gonna, and think about the adversity that your kids. Because listen, there's a lot of tennis players that face that same adversity that he went through in that MMA fight, right?
Right.
But you just want to make sure that you can control that tennis thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, dude, we'll play all day. We got no problem making this about art because, I got him over here with Garth Taylor, and Garth is taking care of that adversity.
I want to read to you a text message that just came in from a mutual friend of ours, maybe the smartest living man on the planet.
Nice.
It says, I love Travis Bagent like I love very few. He's beyond a friend. Travis delivers some globally strong and hard-fought wisdom on basic shit, and it's gold. That this beast was able to hone Tyson to the monster. He speaks volumes to all I hold dear about training and rearing. I am proud of. I'm crazy proud of him. I'm very, very proud of him. Greg Glassman.
Nice. Hey, fuel up the jet, baby. Let's get together. What are we waiting on?
Hey,
and listen, I'm gonna be way funner now that I'm not like, way funner. And I know I was.
You've always been fun. Shut the fuck up. Listen, Wad Zombie, the last time I had him on when it was and that was the most popular show we did in 2022. You have to know that, and by the way, that was right before a match between John Brzezinski and Devin Lorette, and Travis was giving his 2 cents on who he thought was going to win. So probably a lot of arm wrestlers around the world listen. But the thing is right after that, I go, Travis, you're such an awesome guest. I'll have you on regularly. And he's like, listen, dipshit, I'm not coming on your show regularly. I hate that shit. Don't call me for fucking 6 months. Like, you know what I mean? No, I'm not getting it. I'll ask him to come on again. Tyson's more likely to come on again than this guy.
Yeah, and also too, man, listen, Tyson loves you. And I think that this next component in your life is gonna be the guys that you really, really respect and love enough to let mentor and be in your kid's life. That's going to be another special thing that happens to you.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. Well said.
It's listen, hugely fulfilling, right? Like for me to really, really enjoy someone and really tell my kids, like, listen, I just want you to know that. And the reason Tyson thinks so highly of you is because as he was coming up in life, you were doing these great things. And every single time, it was one of those where nobody in this household was surprised by it. So whenever, and it's not just you, there's this psychology teacher at Martinsburg High School that I was, that I ended up getting CrossFit certified. And this guy's a huge part of Tyson's life. I believe you'll be a part of his life forever. And I'm telling you right now, there is no doubt in my mind that that man is going to become absolutely great. And your relationship with him is going to benefit you tremendously. I think that I've told you before that being the quarterback is a lot different than any other thing. Right. And there's no reason for you to understand that yet, but the power that you will see as Tyson becomes one of those household figures, one of those 5 or 10 quarterbacks that is on his team and is the starter year in and year out. The benefit that it's going to take place for you it'll just be an amazing circle, because I remember thinking to myself how awesome it would be if Tyson could get some knowledge and some understanding from a few guys that have been a part of my life. So I cannot wait until you call me and like, yo. And listen, I already know it's going to happen. I just can't wait for you to see the power of being one of those guys. And then here's what I'm hoping too, that I'm hoping that Tyson was raised that the best part of his life is sharing that platform, right? Just purposely letting the people know that we're there for him, or that he enjoys that. Hey, all these resources, just like Greg Glassman said, Travis, don't be tight with the resources. They're here. Make sure that all of our people can enjoy them. So I'm really looking forward to the doors that I think Tyson's career is going to open, not because of the fame and fortune, just because of the influence. And to me, nothing is bigger than when somebody thinks that you are on this platform, that you could be selfish or maybe too busy for them. And then they realize that, my man, this is one of the main reasons that I got to this platform, is so all my people can enjoy it. So I hope that Tyson is that guy. And I'm also hoping that Tyson's aware enough that even if he's not that guy, that he knows that I am that guy, so that I can handle it. If you don't want to be that guy, I would love to be that guy for you. So just hold on, just wait a little bit longer. Every time I call, answer the phone. You're one sarcastic comment away.
Who dis? What you need? Hey, how do you choose, Travis? How do you choose those? How do you choose those guys?
I just choose the guys that I know, no matter what, they didn't do it. They did a lot of things for me, not for them. So, and then, also too, I don't really care what put us in a position to where I enjoyed your company. It really doesn't matter. I absolutely love being a servant. I love helping people. I love it. I like bringing a lot of people to dinner. I love when my friends are hanging out with my other friends, right, even if they're not necessarily friends, right, so that they all can feel it. And I mean, I just think that for the most part, our brain just imagines that you would be very helpful when you needed something, and then the second you didn't, you would forget about the people that got you there. And then I just think that, it comes with being aware, is that you really, really remember situations that you were in, and how thoughtful and appreciative the other people were, and right, how if you ever got the chance to just enhance something, that you would do it. And I'm looking forward to doing things like that, and hopefully it works out.
What's the longest coach besides yourself that Tyson ever had?
I'd say it's his college coach, Ernie
Four-
McCook. So that's a 5-year program with the COVID year.
Yeah.
So 3 years of high school, same coach, couple years of junior high with the same coach, and then me for about the first 10 years. So from 6 until 13. So 7 straight years of me being his football, basketball, baseball coach, and then handing him off to a junior high guy for a couple years, a high school guy for a few years, and ultimately to Coach McCook at Shepherd University for the last 5 years.
You know what's crazy is like so my kid I signed my kid up for this tennis academy camp. I don't know what you call it, just where he plays tennis. My kids play tennis, and I took them there because they didn't require masks for the kids. So everyone in California was fucking freaking out and wearing masks. I don't know if they did that shit in West Virginia, but there was like a year or 2 years where everyone around here was wearing masks and scared. Like,
You're kidding.
No, it was so weird. So weird.
They didn't really do that.
I swear to God.
saw that on the news, but I thought that was a joke.
I swear to God. So this tennis camp didn't require those masks. And so I started taking my kids there, and I had no interest in my kids playing tennis. And
You had none, or you have none?
I had none.
Okay.
Oh, now I'm going to watch the Australian Open when I'm done here with you.
I got
Yeah,
you.
huge fan. And none. I thought tennis was as stupid as golf and baseball, just throwaway sports, dumb. And now I'm a huge fan. So I take them there, and after them going there a year, and then they start going to like these they're not tournaments, but they start playing kids at other academies. And I start seeing that my kids and the other kids at this academy play so different than those kids. They have top spin. They do something when they serve like this. The racket comes at them like this, like a tomahawk. And at the last minute you turn it. They don't play what's called tap tennis. That's what all of us idiots play, right? We play tap tennis. We just hit the ball. They never just hit the ball.
Now, you're saying everybody or just one team?
Where my kids train, they don't play tap tennis.
Right, but when you play these other academies,
they all play tap tennis.
Okay.
Basically, they all do. Maybe, okay, let's say half. I don't know, but a lot. Like, and so I'm like, wait a second, this doesn't look like they're playing the same game. It's a nuance I would have never noticed, but now I go to practice and sit there and watch for a year. Yep. And I finally realized how lucky we were. We got this coach who this isn't like he's teaching them the fucking fundamentals. The you know what I mean? Just like,
so you're saying that your lack of did you think you were being cheated at first, or
no, I had no idea, but
Okay.
I could have. Out of the other 10 tennis academies in Santa Cruz County, they probably all teach tap tennis for all I know. Like, it's just a game to them. It's just babysitting. It's just a place you take your kid to teach your kid to hit the ball back and forth across the net. That is not what's happening with my tennis instructor.
Nice.
Like, he is fucking teaching them. And so when if I take my kids to just a local tennis court, people will gather around just because of the kid's stroke, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
And you lucked into that.
Yeah, I lucked into that.
Wow. And do you have you ever found yourself taking credit for that luck?
No, never. But the weird thing is like, that's the thing with parents and like kids. Like, if you don't, and the same, so I figured that out with jiu-jitsu too. Like, my kids went to a jiu-jitsu academy that was really good. They went there for 3 years, but at the 2-year mark, I should have known better and pulled them out, because they'd evolved past what was being like, they had passed where the coach cared enough about them to keep them progressing. So it took me about a year and then I pulled them out. Not that academy's bad. It was just time for them to move on. I pulled them out, moved them to another academy, and they exploded now again.
Yeah.
Same with skateboarding. They became better than their skateboarding teacher.
Now, do you think if you'd have went to one of those other tennis academies, you would have played your academy and recognized it right away?
I doubt it. I don't know.
Wow.
Because I had to sit there and listen to him, this guy tediously teach these kids shit that, like, I never thought you could teach a 4-year-old in a million fucking years. But
yeah, so it just
did.
happens that badass coaching came with the perception that we wasn't going to wear masks in here too.
Yeah, it was just like, fuck, I just need a place for my kids to play outside, and I got lucky. But you weren't going to let that happen. You knew what good football looked like.
Oh, yes, 100%. Yeah, and listen, to a fault, right? Maybe even at the beginning, thought that I thought I knew better football than I really knew. But definitely not just taking anyone's input. That's for sure. Yeah. definitely. So I definitely probably made a few mistakes early, but it was way better than being set back a few years.
Right.
By going, yeah, definitely. Yeah. But you know what, though? I feel like that no matter what it is, like if we're both super amateur and we get introduced to a new activity, I immediately skip to the third chapter.
Because you're such a good
I
athlete.
mean, it's like I'm sneaky motherfucker. It's like as soon as I get the book, I move on to the third chapter, see one reference, and then before the guy gets done teaching the first 5 minutes, I make a reference to something I read in chapter 3 just to see if maybe I hit a Hail Mary and
Right.
it worked. So yeah, definitely had a hypersensitive, and I think football, for some reason, if you're a meathead West Virginia kid over 6 foot tall, you get introduced to football anyway. And then you realize that what I realized is that when I got done playing high school football, I never was fulfilled like that again. Even though I got to play college baseball, I even got to do some really cool arm wrestling stuff. Playing football on Friday nights in high school for me, was an amazing time in my life. And it's something that I thought that if my kids could play, they would have to play the 2 safe positions, which means they could be the quarterback or the kicker. That's it. And then if we really worked on it, it could be a real confidence booster when it came to the rest of their life. So even if it just got them through college or through high school being the homecoming king, it was still a little bit better than not. And then we just got real lucky and kept pushing that envelope, and Tyson kept believing, and then it just got to where now he believes it even more than me, which I freaking love.
Hold on 1 second. Some guy in the comments said, Travis sounds like Grover from Sesame Street.
Grover must have a raspy voice, maybe. I don't know.
Let's hear Grover for a
Let's
second.
hear what he said.
This is your old pal Grover. And today I'm going to talk.
Not bad.
Okay, I'll take it. Was that guy meaning for me to enjoy that, or maybe take offense to that?
He doesn't even know. Hey, do you remember when that happened? When he believed more than you?
Yeah, I think it was right around 10th grade. I kept telling him, I'm like, listen, man, we're in this little 4-month span where I'm like, listen, everything can change now. If you get better, you have an opportunity to take this job as a sophomore instead of waiting until you're a junior, and it will change everything. If you can get in the game before you are athletically really enhanced, because usually the 10th grader hasn't hit puberty yet, and that's why he can't play. And the kids that can play as sophomores, it's because they hit puberty early. So a special category would be pre-puberty, but has enough skill level to play with the puberty kids, right? So that was the first indication for me. It's like, listen, we can separate ourselves. Like, to me, if you roll up in the 10th grade with a full beard and you're starting, I'm not that surprised. But when I can clearly look and see that you have not, your balls have not dropped yet, right? Like, you're not taking showers after practice with the other players, right? You coming home dirty, right? Because you're in the 10th grade and you do anything rather than get naked and go in the high school shower, right? If you are at that, if all that is taking place and you are still the leader and the best player on the team, then we have a bright future. And that was one of those things where I could just tell Tyson, I'm like, listen, do you know how special it is that you're their leader? Like, this team has already won the state championship 5 different times the last 7 years. They're used to winning, right? And they're used to being led by someone that is hit puberty a while ago.
Yeah.
so that was the first indication. And then right after that year, there was never a time where I had to, call him and be like, yo, let's go work out. He had either already done it or was already bugging me about when we were doing it and who was all coming. And then it became a situation where he took a lot of pride in it. So then he started inviting his guys and all his buddies, and the classes got bigger because of him than just because of me.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you got something. And then you're just waiting for them to show that they're normal, right? A normal kid's gonna, have trouble at school. A normal kid's gonna lash out at, make some excuse as to, because he's not starting in basketball, he's got some big problem, but as Tyson kept growing and kept evolving, none of those problems existed, right? There was never a problem. There was never an attitude problem. There was never, here's a prime example of a quarterback, right? He goes to practice. The coaches deem him the captain. Right away, one of the star players immediately checks the quarterback by saying something about the program, whether it's about the coach, whether it's about the facilities, whether it's about any of that. You would expect a non-puberty kid, 10th grader, listening to this from a senior to easily hop right on the bandwagon and be a part of the cancer, right? Yeah, man, coach should be playing Carlos instead of, so-and-so at wide receiver. But with Tyson, it was he always had the coach's back. And he would tell the kid, he's like, listen, man, I think coach is just trying to win the game. I think that, we should listen to him. Because a long time ago, I told him, I'm like, what you want to be a part of the problem or what? Or are you here to really be that liaison between management and the team? So just know, like I told this 8-year-old kid today, if you want to play quarterback in college, you got to be the best player on your team, right? You have to be a freak endurance athlete so that they don't try to out endurance you as to where they can mold you on the team. The next thing is you can be the best player on the team, but you can never talk about it. You can never talk about yourself if you're the quarterback. Are you sure that you want to be that guy? Now, don't get me wrong. Other people are going to talk about you, good and bad. You are never allowed to talk about your successes, nor are you allowed to accept your failures to a point that the rest of the team loses confidence in you. So just know all of that pressure.
Who taught you
with
that?
being the quarterback.
Who taught you that? How do you know
I mean, that's just, I evaluated that, right? I watched the quarterbacks. I wanted my son to be those guys. And then every time those guys will let you down, right? You'll see them in some situation where they're throwing the iPad, throwing the helmet, showing off their receivers, meaning when the play doesn't go right, it is the quarterback's fault. It does not matter what really happened. You must know that that's the way you have to handle it every single time. And you must downplay all the successes. Every single time, you must distract the attention from yourself to the administration and or your other players. Just know that every time so that we're never caught in a situation where you can show them that you're not the guy, that you're selfish, that you're normal. Can't be any of that stuff, right? And if you are, tell me now so that you can go be, a Navy SEAL. You don't have to be a great NFL quarterback. Just be a Navy SEAL or an Army Green Beret. Be the best high school football coach in the history of the world. It doesn't matter. You have a endless supply of things that you can be pretty damn good at. Just know that this one thing, it requires all of you. It requires you to be present at every situation and hyper aware. Please know that it's foundationally a must for us to move on.
This is one of Sevon's easiest interviews. Just hit play and let the record play with repeat. I mean, yeah, hey, and here's what's crazy. It's midnight in West Virginia. Truth be spoken, Travis and I usually don't start talking until about 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So usually at 1 a.m. is when our conversations start.
Yeah, no doubt.
I do have a 7 a.m. podcast that I haven't prepared much for. So I'm about to go work out for 2 hours in the garage. And
I love it. Well, listen,
prepare.
we
Hey,
super
dude, you're a
appreciate you
stud.
over here.
Dude, you the man.
The Bagent household. Hey, listen, I can't wait for us to be able to return this favor. Things are about to go down in Mobile, Alabama. You watch.
I can't wait.
Midweek, Dave Castro's going to call you.
How much longer is Tyson in Fort Myers?
Tyson will be in Fort Myers until probably March 1st.
Okay, because I did reach out to Danielle Brandon. She said she'd love to get in a couple training days with them. So I'm going to push her contact information to you, and then you could introduce them and they could get some training days in.
I watched her perform, and what an amazing athlete. And I am super looking forward to, her meeting Tyson and them collaborating, and I'd love to be there as well. So keep me informed.
Yep. I'll put your number. All right, guys. Hey, everyone. All right. Thank you, Travis. And I will, I'll probably give you a call later on tonight.
All right. You're the man.
Later, brother. Wow. I just threw that part at the end there to get you guys excited about Danielle Brandon. That was just like showing off, but it is true. Before Wadapalooza, I was like, hey, I said, hey, you want my buddy's down like 40 minutes away from you. Would you want to train with him? She said, who's your buddy? I said, this dude, Kid Tyson Bagent. She said, fuck yeah, let's rock and roll. She's cool like that. Yeah, no, this is a special human being. Thanks, Miss Ridow. Woo, my ears. Trish, God damn it. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. All right, guys. Tomorrow morning, Sevon, go live for workouts. I think you're BS on the 2 hour. I mean, listen, this is what I'm going to do, Mr. Mason. I'm going to have 8 minutes to get ready. So I'm going to go. I think I peed on my pants on that last pee break when I rushed out there. It was dark. So I'm going to change my pants. Obviously, I'm not going to work out in these pants. And then I'm probably going to wash my hands and brush my teeth. And then I'm going to rub my kids' back for about 30 seconds, 40 seconds each. Kiss my wife, rub her back. Then I'm going to go in the garage and I'm going to ride the assault bike for 10 minutes. And I'm going to stay in the garage for 2 hours. And, 30 minutes of it maybe just doing work on the balance block or the endo board. But I'll stay moving for 2 hours. I won't do shit to make myself look like fucking you. I wish. But I will be sweating for, the meat doctor tomorrow. Yeah. It's weird when you have two real people on how easy it is to do a podcast. No, I'm not. No, I don't normally pee on myself. I don't normally. That was and I'm not. And I know. And only I can call myself old. I don't normally pee on myself. I was just rushing. I was so stupid. I was at tennis with my kids right before this, and I drank a giant, like, I don't know, a liter of Perrier or 2 liters of Perrier. I was just indulging in sparkling water because I stopped bringing it in my house, and they have a liquor store there. So, okay. All right. I think that's it. See you guys tomorrow, 7 a.m. It's less than 12 hours, 10 hours away, 10 hours and 6 minutes. Who's Ron? I always clean up Ron's drippings for him. Who's Ron? That's your boyfriend? That's your husband? Good night. Good night, Ken. Good night. Good night, Sevy. Good night. Bye-bye. Bye, guys.